The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted many nonprofit groups around the world, including churches. But how are local churches doing during these difficult times? Joining us to discuss this is Kelly Stickel, the lead pastor of My Victory Churches in Lethbridge and Southern Alberta. Pastor Kelly, thank you for joining me today.
It's so good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so with the recent provincial lockdown, things have changed for church gatherings now that only 15% capacity is being allowed. So, is that capacity still being filled? Are church members still feeling confident to come out and attend your church specifically, I guess?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's just like everything else in this pandemic, there's two camps, and so there's some of our congregation that are definitely more comfortable and are staying home, and some of the vulnerable ones for sure we're encouraging to stay home and watch us and join us online. But we do have a number of people that are still continue to come out, and so we're excited that, and we've continued to stay open, and we are yeah we're glad to see people out for sure.
Yeah, and so how do you handle those who still want to attend in person? Do they have to pre-book or can anyone just show up and hope to get in or do you have to be on a list? So 15% obviously isn't a whole heck of a lot of people. What does that look like in your church?
Yeah, well, 15% for us is we can have a attendance of just under 200, and that so we got 134 adults, 45 children that can attend. So yeah, we're asking everyone that comes out to pre-register, and we're keeping a pretty close tally, a tab on how many that we're going to stay within those numbers. And when they attend, we are yeah everything is masked and social distanced, and we have our staff that are and volunteers that are continually cleaning surfaces and bathrooms and doorknobs, and we're we've taken extra precautions for sure over the last number of months.
Yeah, it's a different world we're living in.
So different.
All right, so Kelly, how many members prefer your online services and how many would rather just meet in person?
Well, before this latest uptick in cases that were happening in the province, we were getting just at the end of summer, coming into the fall, we were getting about 60% in-person attendance from we were previously, and now we're on average on a weekend we've been down to about 25% now that have been attending. We've had to multiply, split that up in services and all of that to make sure that we can all get them in, but about right now. So the majority of our congregation is participating online.
Oh, wow. So, do you know how many people are falling between the cracks? How many are simply not participating in church at all now with COVID-19 and all the restrictions?
Yeah, I think there's a growing list. I think churches that I've talked to, pastors I've talked to around North America, even around the world, have noticed when the pandemic first hit, they were all excited because their online numbers were far greater than what their attendance was. But I think between after Easter and just before the summer, that's churches worldwide started seeing a massive decline in people participating online. And I think everyone just started getting screen tired. I mean, how many Zoom meetings and and can we be a part of and one more thing online? And so I think that was natural. But we've been very advantageous. Our staff have been working really hard to make sure that people aren't falling through the cracks. And we started a thing that we called CareNet, where we had a number of volunteers and staff members that made it a priority to contact everybody that's on our attendance list, and that's over 3,000 people, at least monthly, for just to check in on and make sure that they're doing okay and not falling through the cracks. But we've had to put the extra effort in to make sure that that doesn't happen. So.
I was going to say that sounds like a really big job to reach out to 3,000 people every month.
Yes, it is a big job. It takes a team to be able to do that, but and I'm sure there are some that have drifted away or are falling through the cracks, and we continue to reach out and hopefully, yeah, we'll see people kind of re-engage when this whole thing settles down.
Okay, well, Kelly, My Victory has a very good reputation for reaching out to the non church community and lending a helping hand to those in need. So, what are some of the biggest needs in our community during this COVID time, especially as we get closer to Christmas?
Yeah, as we get closer to Christmas, a lot of increased mental health issues. I think a lot of people are dealing with depressions like never before, anxieties like never before. So we're seeing a great increase in counseling and the need for that. I think just the lack of community that all these restrictions put on everybody puts a lot more stress on people's mental health and those things. So those are a big concern. I think the other big concern is financial. A lot of people now are, having their businesses shut down or limited, and are not able to work like they had, or getting laid off, or different things that are happening has put a lot of financial stress. So we've been, upping our counseling game, but we've also been really working hard with our My City Care projects in downtown, that making sure that we're taking care of people's financial needs, and just, we've been handing out food like never before. Our I think our My City Care met its record by April of what we typically did annually. So it's been a busy year for that for sure. But we've been doing what we can
Well,
to
you
help and partner with other organizations and the government, actually, to make sure that we can help as many people as possible.
Yeah, well, you probably just answered my next question, which is, are there more people or less people turning to the church for help in this COVID time?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time because we've had, the city has approached the church for help and participation in some of the programs that they're doing in distributing food to some of the homeless shelters in different places. We've had the government of Alberta partner with us and want help in that, and so plus there's been other organizations we've been partnered with, and we've had a number of other churches in the city that are partner with us as well in getting the needs out there, and meeting the needs in the community. So there's been a lot of people that, yeah, have been turning more to the church, and I mean, part of this whole thing, I think, has been a great opportunity. There's always an opportunity in every crisis, and I think the church, taking our job back in essence, and meeting the needs like Jesus did, following his model, and feeding the hungry, and helping the poor, and reaching out where we can, I think, is important for the church to do. And so we've been passionately doing that.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your annual Shop of Wonders outreach. How's that going?
It is going fantastic. It's been busier than ever. So Shop of Wonders, for those who might not be aware, is a My City Care program in which we basically take a space, and this year in Lethbridge, we've taken the old fire hall downtown, and we turn it into a massive toy store. And when I say massive, it is, yeah, massive. We turn it into a big toy store, and then we provide Christmas for children and for families who would not necessarily be able to experience Christmas because of financial restraints. And we give out, and we have parents come in one by one individually. They come in and shop for their children in the toy store. Everything is given to them for free, and it has been great. So we've helped over 800 children so far in Lethbridge. I think we've helped around just under 500 in Okotoks. We've had over 250, I think, now in Tabor, children that we've helped, and plus we've got, I'm not sure, I haven't got the final numbers on Clare's Home, but we have a number of kids. I think it's around 100 in Clare's Home as well that we've been able to reach out and help. So it's been the need has been great, but the response has been awesome as well.
That's amazing. So, what kind of response have you been getting from those that you've been helping?
Amazing response. So a lot of people, they come in because they feel embarrassed, or they feel like they're hesitant to come in, or they feel ashamed that they've been in this position. But honestly, a lot of people are in this position just because of this pandemic, and unexpected. And so, the financial stress, especially when Christmas comes, and the expectation of what Christmas used to be for your children, and now we can't. And so they come in, I think, very ashamed, and dejected. But then we go over and above. Our team goes over and above to provide, and to show dignity to everybody that comes in, and to celebrate them and the situation. And the response from them has been overwhelming. People in tears, just going, and they just admittedly say to us in a lot of testimonials that I came in ashamed and embarrassed, and yet I walked out feeling, on top of the world. And thank you, thank you, thank you for not only providing for my children Christmas that we couldn't, but for making me feel like a human, so that and to feel dignified.
That's very heart touching. So, has it been difficult to find enough volunteers who are willing to take the health risks, so to speak, to come out and help others?
We haven't had any problem with that at all. It's been quite an amazing response from people that are wanting to step up. In fact, we've had more people from the community than ever, not just within our church, but even from within the community and other churches step up and saying, "We want to help." And we take every extra precaution and make sure that our all of our volunteers are safe and that socially distanced and masked and sanitized and above and beyond to take care of them. But we've had great response from volunteers, and they've been absolutely amazing.
That's fantastic. So, with the economic downturn, what are you hearing from churches in southern Alberta? Is this having an impact on their financial situations? Are donations taking a hit?
I it's I mixed bag again, but the majority of churches I'm talking to are actually saying somehow miraculously this year has been a stronger financial year than some churches are saying forever. And as donations have been strong and yeah, a lot of the programs that have been afforded to us by the government, different things have really put churches in a healthier position. So I'm hearing really positive reports from a lot of churches. We've certainly witnessed that as well ourselves, that our people have continued to strongly give. And we've had one of our stronger financial years that I can remember as well. And it's been remarkable because in the midst of this, you're going, "Ugh, is this what's going to happen?" But it just goes to show us again that God is our supply and circumstances are not. And so we trust him.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially because so many nonprofits are just taking such a huge hit this year. It's just a year like no other. So, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, and I think the economic fallout of what this last year has been, I think is just starting to really set in. And I do think, 2021, we're certainly bracing ourselves for the fact that 2021 could be economically a lot more strenuous than years we've in the past. And so we're being cautious. We're advising other pastors as well to be cautious. And this is not a time to overspend. This is a time to definitely batten down the hatches and make sure that we're prepared for what could be coming in the future economically.
It's very interesting because none of us really know what the new year is going to hold, right?
It's so true.
So,
I'm so glad to see 2020 go, but at the same time, what the world is 2021 going to be like? But
I know.
yeah, we
Absolutely.
we
So, Kelly, how are you managing to help the spiritual needs of congregation members with the restrictions? I would imagine it's a lot more difficult. People still need prayer and counseling for marriage challenges and addictions, etc. How are you guys handling that?
we are taking advantage of technology. I can't imagine how we'd be able to pastor today without the technology that's afforded to us. Um, with isolation, we can technologically get to people. So we're using Facebook a lot for connections and connecting with people. We're providing opportunities for prayer and for counseling on Zoom and making sure people electronically get us prayer requests and we get our prayer teams on it and we're following up with them in those prayer requests and we're doing whatever we possibly can to make sure that we can still meet needs and use whatever means necessary to help people where they're at.
Yeah, and I would imagine you're probably seeing an increase in people struggling with anxiety and depression during this time too.
Yeah, absolutely. That again, I think the biggest fallout of this thing is, there's health risks, but I think the mental health risks are very scary, and I do think that we are seeing a lot more marriage counseling, depression counseling, a lot of family counseling, a lot of that stuff is addictions counseling is definitely on the rise, and it's definitely seeing an increase.
Yeah. So, Kelly, any final thoughts on where the church is headed with the new year? We talked about 2021 being so uncertain, but any thoughts on where you're headed with the new year with these COVID challenges?
Yeah, well, we like everybody else. I think it's interesting to try to plan for what the new year is going to look like with so much uncertainty. It's hard to kind of have true clarity into what the next year is going to look like. But for me personally, through much prayer and talking with other pastors and with our team, I don't know that we're ever going to go back to normal, whatever normal, was. I don't know if that we're ever going to. I think if the world was a rubber band, it probably stretched beyond what it's going to be able to go back to. So I think there's going to be some forever changes that are going to affect the church. And I think our expectation that this thing gets cured and everything's all good, everything's going to come back to what it was is, I don't think is probably realistic or wise to plan that way. So we're looking at what we have learned as a church in 2020 and where we can double down and where we can be more effective and make sure that we can minister to people where they're at. So we're looking at a number of different creative elements of in 2021 to make sure that we can continue to reach people in all platforms in all areas and reach them where they are rather than expect that everything's going to come back to normal.
Hmm. Pastor Kelly Stickel, lead pastor with My Victory Church in Lethbridge. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Merry Christmas,
Thank
by
you
the
so
way.
much. It's my pleasure.